you're just finding this video series for the first time, welcome! I'm going through every season of Once Upon a Time to talk about where the characters come from and whether they're really fairy tale characters or not. If you'd like to watch from the beginning, I'll put a link to the playlist in the description below. Once Upon a Time started out using mostly fairy tale characters, but over time they've added in a lot of characters that really don't come from fairy tales at all. Characters from children's classics, from Greek mythology, from legends, and from a variety of other sources. Season 6 is when it gets really weird, because then we introduce the Land of Untold Stories. And with the Land of Untold Stories, we get characters from just a variety of different sources, ranging from fairy tales to 19th century novels. So let's start off with the Land of Untold Stories, because that's the new thing this season. So most of the characters from the Land of Untold Stories are not fairy tales. Now, the one big exception is that Cinderella's stepsister comes over from the Land of Untold Stories, and of course that is a fairy tale, and that kind of plays into something that was already existing on Once Upon a Time. As far as new fairy tales being introduced, the only one that I can think of is Aladdin. Now, Aladdin is a Middle Eastern fairy tale, so it's a little bit different from some of the ones that we've seen. We've mostly seen European fairy tales at this point. But it is considered a fairy tale, it is considered more broadly a folk tale, so we're going to count it. But for the most part, the stories from the Land of Untold Stories are 19th century classics. We have stories like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, The Count of Monte Cristo, of course Jekyll and Hyde, which were also there in the season 5 finale, and then also some older literature like Hamlet and Beowulf. Now, the way that Hamlet worked I thought was a little bit off. I didn't think that David and King George were really good parallels for Hamlet and Claudius. They do have the antagonistic king and prince relationship, and it is kind of revealed that David's father's death was not an accident. But I just didn't think it worked all that well, but still that clearly was what they were going for. So all of a sudden David is no longer just a fairy tale character, he also is a character from Shakespeare. Okay then. And then Beowulf was introduced. Again, it was not quite what you would expect, although that's kind of a Once Upon a Time thing as well, right? So Beowulf didn't turn out to be the legendary hero that he's kind of seen as. He turned out to be kind of a fake, kind of a coward if I remember correctly, and kind of a disappointment if you know the legend, but that was kind of the point of the episode as well. And then in addition to all of these new characters from classical literature, we also have Dr. Frankenstein returning briefly. So yeah, lots of classics this season, not a lot of actual fairy tales by comparison. However, we do still have some fairy tales on the show, a lot of carryover from previous seasons in terms of our major players being prominent fairy tale characters. Let's see, what else is there? Well, we still have a couple of legends as part of the show. We have Blackbeard, and we have Robin Hood. Robin Hood plays a much less significant role this season, but we do have the alternate universe Robin Hood created in the Wish Realm, and then we also have baby Robin, Zelina's daughter. Now, I'm not counting her as a character from the legend Robin Hood, but that is just kind of another link to the story. We also, of course, do still have some stories from children's literature. Zelina is from Oz, and the Blue Fairy and the rest of the Pinocchio characters are from Pinocchio, which is originally a children's novel. And then, of course, there is Peter Pan. In addition to Hook being one of the main characters, Tinkerbell also returns at this point, and Tiger Lily briefly appears. And there's an episode that they're in Neverland, and I believe the Lost Boys appear. So what does that leave us with? Excluding the original characters like Emma and Henry and looking just at the ones that are derivative of some other kind of story, we have a total of 7 fairy tales, 6 classics, 3 children's novels, and 2 legends. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it and you'd like to make sure that you catch part 7, feel free to subscribe. I'm currently posting videos twice a week, so it'll be up very soon.